it's not really germane to the fight. What matters is how the legs get you there and get you back. And so you can have a point where I'm walking towards somebody, they're walking away, and we are actually standing still. And it's very important to think of it that way. Now, it would be very incorrect for me to teach how to kill somebody using the principles of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Special relativity. Because he's way post-period. Here's the good news. There's this thing called the Galilean constancy principle. That's the exact same thing. Galileo thought of this, and he didn't use a train, he used a ship. And said that if you're in the ship and it's on calm seas, it doesn't matter. Your space frame is the same. Einstein was a hack and a bitch, and he stole from Galileo. There, I said it. Galileo is late period, but he's period. You can use this stuff. It's beautiful. So, how do we measure it? How do we measure these two instances? Well, you'll hear people talking about, this is it. You'll hear people talking about creating a tempo. And what that means is that if I'm standing still and I move, there was no time. As I moved, there was time. And when I stopped, there was no time again. I created time in a very real sense. In a real sense as far as how our brains receive it. Now, notice you're all looking at this. I have heard that the pen is mightier than the sword, so I attached a pen to the sword, and with this I will rule the world. This is my pen sword. Fear it, or I will scribble on you. What I use this for is on this blank piece of paper to demonstrate how this all works out. So, if we don't measure distance in inches, we measure it in time. What are these times? So as I stand here, the quickest attack I can throw is the attack that requires no actual motion on my part. I'm going to stand here, I'm going to foreshorten this a little bit, so you notice my guard looks a little pulled back. There's a reason. I run out of paper if I throw an actual lunge here. So, right now, this right here is the area where if you happen to advance into my sword, you're dead. This is the measure of get away from me, you should be dead already. If your opponent is standing here, your sword should already be 6 inches inside his body. This takes no time for me to achieve. The next notable distance is the distance that can be reached by a motion of the arm and hand alone, without moving the torso or the feet. This is the next one that really matters. And that would come out to about here. That's where I can reach without moving my body. This would be the time of the hand and the arm, to put it in somewhat specific language. There are a lot of reasons this is important. In theory, you could argue that this is, but even though I could reach out a little further by moving my torso, not only does this take a little more time, it also gives a greater visual cue to my opponent, which increases his ability to react to my motion. So even though this and this might take the exact same amount of time on a stopwatch, this actually takes more time in a fight because it gives my opponent a greater visual cue and increases his reaction speed. So that is actually more time. So we're going to keep it straight to the, I can reach this with an arm extension and a motion of the hand. Like I said, I'm foreshortening it. I'm not going all the way out here. The final time that we really have to concern ourselves with is the time that it takes to make the attack with everything, without moving the rear foot. And so, because that means you're taking extra steps. So I can advance my foot, I can advance my body, I can advance my arm, and I try to get it, oops, so I get right to the end of the paper. They're dryword markers, it's okay. So we end up with this cool range diagram. And anything in here, I should have already killed you. Anything here, I can hit by sticking my arm out. And anything way out there, I can hit with a full body motion. Now that's kind of cool, but I'll tell you right now, if you've got two identical twins fighting, it doesn't make much of a difference to the fight, because everybody's equal. Same style, same swords, same everything, okay, not a big deal. But this gives you an idea of, okay, here is a measure. It is the measure of you should already be dead. The measure of very close measure. The measure of translated into whatever language you natively study in. The next is this measure here. This is the measure of I can reach out and touch you, but I haven't already done so. And that measure out there, the measure of I can reach you, but on the way there, you probably have time to ready your defense. Now, like I said, that's all good and well, but we don't have identically matched fencers. I'm usually the tallest, longest armed, biggest sword carrying dude on any list, which does give me an actual mathematical advantage, and I freely admit that. And anybody who says that a short sword is better has read too much Silver, because they've just learned how to overcome those disadvantages, which is easy to do once you've learned how to do it. So I'm going to pretend for a second that I have shorter arms, and that I have a little less sword, I have a little less body. It doesn't matter how you get it. The shorter guy could be me, wielding this thing against some short little person with a monster sword. It doesn't matter how you get that reach, as long as you get it. So this range is pretty similar. There's a narrow difference. This range, we start to get more of a difference, and this range out here, there's a big difference. And at this point, you end up with what I like to refer to as a range diagram. This would look really, really cool as a woodcut with a bunch of guys in poses and all kinds of geometrical stuff, but really all you care about is this stuff that looks like sonar reaching out here. And what it gives you is an idea of kind of what's going on in the world. In this area, both of you should be dead. Somebody's not doing their job if nobody's dead in this area. You're just too close. You should be wrestling like Germans at this point. You should be beating each other to death with your pommels. I largely ignore this area in this class because this gets down to infighting, and that's a different class. Then you get this cool little area right here. If you are the fencer with less range, you are the fighter with less range, you should be dead already. And the guy who is slightly longer ranged should have already killed you, but you don't have that excuse yet. So this is a kind of dangerous area, but because it's so in close, it's not really big, because when you're this close, it's all gone to hell anyhow. This area right here, both fighters are equal. You may think that longer arms have an advantage, not true. Right here, either one of you can hit the other with a motion of the hand. At this point, when you're in this area, the shorter armed, shorter sworded individual actually has a slight advantage. Yes, true. Silver was right, as long as you live here. The problem is nobody likes to live here. This right here is a place where the shorter armed individual has a slight advantage. This spot, however, this little area right here is what this class is all about. This is what I refer to for the shorter fencers as the Valley of Death. For the tall guys,
that's why we don't like to live there.
This is happy, stabby, fun time. I think this is happy, stabby, fun time right here. But the short guys, this is the Valley of Death. But fear no evil, for I will teach you how to walk through the Valley of Death. That's what this class is all about. Now out here, you're equal again. You're in fact dead equal, because either one of you can hit the other if you're willing to reach for it. But the shorter sword doesn't really give you that leverage advantage that it does in here. And the longer sword doesn't really give you the reach advantage because you can both reach out and get the other guy. So you're dead equal here. Here, I'll put like a single kind of half-assed red line. You are in a little more danger, but it's not really the kind of danger that's going to get you stabbed unless you're asleep. This is just, you know, when you enter into this valley, you kind of got to click over to DEFCON 2, you know? Because the really tall guy could launch that lunge at the far extension of what he's capable of, but by the time he gets to the far end of his lunge, if you're still watching him come in, you deserve to be stabbed. It's Darwin in action. It is dangerous out here, but this is come on guard danger as opposed to holy crap danger. So I will be the first to admit these lines are not solid. All of us can say, yeah, I just found 4 more inches. All of us can shift our weight a little bit without actually doing it. These are really fuzzy. You know, we're not going to pretend that there's a 4-inch zone out there that if you enter it, you're dead, and if you stay out of it, you're alive. They're fuzzy. So what you end up with is getting into this danger graph, with, you know, danger being up there. And you say, okay, back here, totally safe. I'm out of range. You're out of range. We can take naps, we can drink booze, it doesn't matter. We're safe out here. And then you come in and, oh, it got a little more dangerous. And for the shorter person,